back to Keep It Real Boxing. This is Cypherbox bringing you the latest in boxing news, and basically what I want to do in these first lot of videos today is catch up with the weekend action in terms of all the boxing that was on this weekend. Really good weekend this weekend for boxing. You know, a lot of good fights, and I have to admit I thoroughly enjoyed it. Want to start here, of course, with the big one, Mayweather versus Mcgregor, and I have to admit I was pleasantly surprised at how that fight went down. I thought it was a really interesting fight. It was intriguing to watch. I have to give credit to Conor McGregor. I believe, you know, he definitely surprised me. You know, I predicted Floyd would win this and knock him out in 6 rounds, and you know, it wasn't the case. You know, I have to give credit. I have to give credit where credit's due. Sorry, you know, a lot of people might not like what I'm saying, but that's the way I saw it. You know, credit to Floyd as well. Put on a really great performance. You know, wasn't defensive, was on the offensive in the fight, and you know, said what he was going to do, which is give the fans what they wanted. Was an exciting, offensive, aggressive fight, an exciting fight as well. So really what I want to do is probably talk about the earlier rounds. I mean, because we all saw how the latter rounds went, and Conor McGregor, to be honest with you, and first round, have to say, you know, he shocked me and surprised me. You know, he outboxed and you know, won that round clearly. I mean, Floyd, you know, we all know Floyd. He takes the first 3 or 4 rounds usually working out and analysing his opponents, downloading information, uses his jab to kind of probe and see what his opponent's reactions are, or you know, he'll step to it into, you know, pivot into a certain position or move into a certain position just to see what his opponents do. So in that time he's analysing and downloading information in those first few rounds, and then he goes to work on his opponents. But you know, Conor McGregor, you know, he did really well in that first round. You know, Floyd was trying to outbox, you know, trying to box him, and the usual things that Floyd Mayweather does. You know, throw that straight right, that jab, get that jab going, get the jab to the stomach going. Wasn't happening, you know, because you know, Conor made very good use of his height and his reach. You know, I was impressed. I was impressed and surprised by, you know, he had a pretty decent jab on him. You know, he wasn't the greatest jab I've seen, but for an MMA fighter coming into boxing for the first time against Floyd Mayweather, it was a decent jab, and he kept Conor at bay. You know, that left hand of his, you know, as well. You know, 1-2s and you know, I was impressed by what he was doing. He just kept Floyd at a distance, and you know, you saw the size difference between the two men as well. You know, Conor was a lot bigger than Floyd Mayweather. I mean, I don't know how correct the tale of the tapes are, because it says Conor McGregor, I think is 5'9", and Floyd apparently is 5'8". Didn't look that way to me. I felt like Conor was a lot taller than him, and definitely a lot bigger than him. You know, he had that 2-inch range advantage, and he used it very well in that first round, and just outboxed Floyd. He didn't throw like massive volumes of punches. He conserved his energy, but he just, you know, used the jab, kept Floyd at distance. That uppercut, let's not forget that in the first round, that was solid. How could I forget that? You know, so you know, Floyd walked into that and got a chin full of, you know, Conor's left, and you know, that was a real power shot. You know, laid it on perfectly onto Floyd, and credit to Floyd. You know, Floyd took that shot well, and he stood up to it. He didn't, you know, a lot of people always say, oh, Floyd, you know, he's not got a chin, or etc. He can't take a punch, or all the negativity you get around Floyd and things. You know, kind of shut a lot of people up, because that was a solid punch. There was a lot of punches like that landed on Floyd, and Floyd took them well. He ate those shots and still moved forward. So, but in that first round, you know, definitely that uppercut really impressed me. The jab, not too bad on his feet as well in terms of his movement. Wasn't great movement, but he wasn't, you know, his feet weren't getting all tangled and stuff like that. So he actually really impressed me. Second round, I felt was very similar. Floyd tried to come out and go into the corners and go against the ropes and try to do the whole shoulder roll thing that he does. Didn't really work out well for him. To be fair, a bit of dirty play started kicking in, dirty boxing started kicking in from Conor McGregor. You know, hammer shots to the back of the head, and you know, coming around Floyd and trying to get punches up from behind him like which you can do in MMA, but the referee put a stop to it, of course. But again, I felt Conor just used his height and his reach over Floyd and just, again, kept him at bay and landed clean scoring shots. And, again, not high volume of punching or punches or combinations, but he did enough to win the round because Floyd didn't get off a lot at all, to be honest with you, in those first couple of rounds. Third round, slightly a little bit different. The first minute was a little bit, I felt Floyd started to come back in. He held that high guard, and and that's another thing as well with Floyd. The first round, he used that high guard. Then he went to try and do the Philly shell thing, down it and went back to the high guard in the second round. And then in the third round, come back out with that high guard again, and felt like he was starting to work Conor's rhythm out a little bit. He started popping shots, straight rights to the stomach, straight rights to the head a little bit. Not a lot of, again, not high volume punching round again, in my opinion. Conor did, in the early part of the round, Floyd was doing that. Conor was throwing punches, but a lot of his punches were now hitting Floyd's gloves, hitting Floyd's arms, his elbows, a couple of body shots going around the side, but I don't feel he was landing as many as he was in the first and second round. And Floyd started to come back in, and he was landing, I felt, the cleaner shots. And in the early parts, etc., in the second minute, and then Conor kind of came back and started doing those body shots. So I couldn't really pick between the two. I felt the third round was pretty even. I know a lot of people gave Conor like 4 or 5 or 6 rounds. I personally didn't. I gave him, the first 2 rounds and the third round even. The fourth round, I felt was slightly different. I felt Floyd definitely came out. You saw him in his corner, didn't really listen to his dad because I don't think Floyd really. He's intelligent a boxer enough to know what's going on in that ring, and he knows what he needs to do. And he came out, gloves up, started walking Conor McGregor down and started putting Conor on the back foot. Don't go to the start of the round, he was up against the ropes, and Conor was the one getting the shots off, but again, Floyd being evasive and moving, etc., and stuff like that. And then Floyd started to take over and started pushing Conor back and started landing his shots and walking him down, and not a lot of shots, not high volume, but just getting that body shot in, getting those head shots in, pushing Conor McGregor on the back foot. And I started seeing signs in that fourth round where Conor McGregor was starting to feel, the pace a little bit. I felt like that. I felt there was a little bit of that going on in the fourth round. And that's how I saw the earlier rounds where I felt Conor McGregor had most of his success. I felt from the fifth onwards, Floyd just started to take over. I felt Conor started to show the pace of the fight was starting to get to him. He started to show early signs of gassing out. You got to remember, boxing is more of an aerobic sport, and even Conor McGregor admitted that when he did his training, he did a lot more of the aerobic sort of training that comes along with boxing. In order to be able to pace, last in the fight and have the endurance for a boxing fight, which is, completely different from an MMA fight. But it started to show, and Floyd started to feel confident that he could take Conor McGregor's punches, his hardest punches, and keep pushing forward. And don't get me wrong, Conor and the rounds from that point had his moments of success. It wasn't all Floyd, but I just felt Floyd had the cleaner work and landed the better shots. We all saw that, and started to impose his will onto Conor McGregor, and started systematically breaking him down. And Conor was on the back foot more, he's walking backwards a lot more, and Floyd just kept that pressure on him. Floyd also, he closed the distance. So whereas the first 2 rounds, Conor had a lot of success because he kept that range and he used his reach on Floyd. Floyd started to close that distance down. He didn't allow Conor to have that kind of space to use his range, and that kind of stopped Conor from what he was doing. And Conor couldn't fight on the inside. That's another thing as well. So Floyd was closing that the range down and making it a lot closer. It wasn't like inside fighting, but it was close range fighting, and again, Conor's not used to that. When you see him fighting in MMA, he's doing it all from a distance. He doesn't fight on the inside in the MMA unless they're up against the cage, and when they're up against cage, they throw little shots, but they're not boxing. They're grappling with each other as well. So he doesn't have that in his arsenal when it came to the boxing side of things. And I just felt Floyd capitalised on that and kept the pressure up. He didn't let up on him. He saw he was gassing out. You know, for a 41-year-old Floyd, you know, he showed a lot of fitness and endurance. I felt he showed a bit of his age as well, Floyd. I don't think, you know, Floyd should carry on fighting. I think Father Time's starting to catch up with him. Don't get me wrong, I have to be honest with you on that one. But definitely, you know, he used his smarts and they closed down the distance, closed down the rage, kept the high guard, started popping off the shots, confident taking McGregor's power. Had to take a punch or a punch or two to land 2, 3 or 4 punches of his own, especially in the, you know, as the fight drew to the end. But you know, he was quite clearly confident in taking that. And obviously, if Conor's tired, if you're quite tired and you're starting to gas out, you know, that takes the power out of your punches as well. So that all played into Floyd's hands, and in the end, you know, we saw the result. Conor got, you know, Mayweather got his 10th round stoppage, and I felt it was the right decision, to be honest with you. You have to remember, this is boxing, it's not mixed martial arts. You get a little bit more time, and I understand Conor McGregor's frustrations. He felt it was a premature stoppage, you know, that he felt, you know, you could at least give me another round, you know, that minute break between rounds might have helped me, you know, rest it up and, you know, get myself back together kind of thing, and then come out in the next round. But at the same time, when you're not defending yourself, and in that round, that 10th round, he was taking a lot of shots to the head. You know, Floyd was just, you know, landing punches at will, and Conor wasn't defending himself. You know, he didn't have his hands up, he wasn't moving his head, he wasn't throwing back. And in boxing, completely different. You know, if you the minute you stop defending yourself, you know, we went a minute without, you know, about a minute without actually replying to Floyd's punches. So he actually got longer than most fighters probably would have. And the minute you start doing that, that's it. The referee's going to think instantly, boxing, right, got to protect the fighter, stop it there. And that's what happened. And it was a good stoppage in my opinion. I've got no complaints about the stoppage. I think it was a really good stoppage. Well-timed stoppage. And Conor needs to understand it's not mixed martial arts where you're going to get that opportunity. You know, if you're still on your feet and you're fighting, you know, they'll allow you to continue fighting. And I think, you know, Conor didn't quite get that. I was quite surprised because, you know, you thought he would have picked that up from Joe Cortez, who he had in his camp, the referee. And he would have learnt that kind of thing, that you need to protect yourself at all times. You need to still show signs of you're fighting back, and if you don't, the ref will stop it. And that's exactly what happened, and it was a good call. And that's how I saw the fight, guys. I thought it was actually, you know, it was more entertaining than I thought it would be, and it was definitely interesting, intriguing. Learned a lot more about Conor McGregor. You know, he's not just some fighter. You know, in the MMA, you know, he's quite clearly. He's able to show he had a bit of something to offer on the night, which is I was surprised by, guys. And I'm not gonna lie, that because if you see my other videos on this fight, I've clearly said Floyd should knock him out in 6 rounds, you know, and not giving a Conor a chance. And he surprised me, you know, a lot. He surprised me a lot, I have to admit. And credit to him and credit to Floyd. You know, they put, you know, it was a good show, and it was an enjoyable fight and exhibition bout, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I can't lie. I kind of just want to answer the $1 million question before I finish the video, which is, does Conor McGregor, if he chooses to, have a future in boxing? Personally, I think yeah. Like I said, he surprised me what he was able to do in the ring against, you know, the greatest pound for pound boxer of this generation. I think he would have to change a few things. There's definitely a basic skill set there that he showed, no doubt about it. I think he surprised a lot of people. Even Sugar Ray Leonard, who slated this fight and he was commentating for Fox Sports, said he was surprised at, and even on Instagram said, you know, I was really surprised how he boxed. You know, he impressed me, and he does have that to him. And you know, I was watching it with a mate, and my mate watches a lot of MMA, but he rarely watches boxing. And he turned around and said, "Oh, he goes, you've got to admit, he can probably switch over to boxing." And I go, "Yeah, with the right trainer, but there's certain things that would have to happen. He would have to change a few things, and definitely would have to change his corner. I don't think his corner, it's an MMA corner that he had with him. He brought them over with him, and I don't think, none of them, they know a bit of boxing probably, but they don't know it fully. They're mixed martial arts coaches, so they know this and that, and as you expect, different forms of martial arts, including boxing. But you need a solid, world-class boxing trainer in your corner, and someone like a Virgil Hunter who can teach you to fight on the inside, kind of like how he's taught Andre Ward. Someone who could teach you the techniques and what to spot and what to do, when to do it, how to adapt to certain situations. He would need a world-class trainer in his corner, a solid boxing trainer. Too many voices were going off in his corner. I felt there was one or two voices going off, and then all three of them had little things to say to him. And I think you just need one voice in the corner as well when it comes to boxing, in my opinion. I know it's different in mixed martial arts, but then you have different types of coaches, like your ground coach, and then your stand-up coach, and it's very different. I can understand that, but in boxing you need just one voice, and you need that one experienced voice, which is, I think, I'm not saying it has to be Virgil Hunter, but it would have to be someone of that caliber, in my opinion, who can teach him the things he needs to know in order to become successful at boxing. I think, like I said, Floyd showed his age a little bit tonight, and what I meant by that, if Conor McGregor was in the ring with, say, a Keith Thurman, or an Errol Spence, or a Jamal Charlo, or a Jamel Charlo, a Canelo, a Triple G, I personally think he would have got knocked out a lot earlier. I think because they're young, fresher, stronger fighters, I think he would have got knocked out in the first 6 rounds, definitely, maybe even the first 4 rounds, with those names that I just mentioned to you, and the reason I say that is because I think Floyd showed his age, because Floyd's always like that. He's always going to be analytical in the ring. Those first few rounds he'll always be analytical, no matter what. He never underestimates an opponent. But I just think, if you took the Conor McGregor from Saturday night and put him in a ring with a Jamel Charlo, or although he impressed me, if you put him in with a Jamal Charlo, or like I said, or a Errol Spence, or a Keith Thurman type fighter, or Terence Crawford, I think he would have got, hurt and hurt bad and knocked out very quickly. But Floyd's a very analytical person who always takes his time and his patience. But at the same time, Floyd is 41 years old, guys. He's not he's not a spring chicken anymore. So, I was I'm not surprised that it went to, I was surprised it went to the 10th round, because I thought he would do it in 6. But then when I was watching Floyd, I thought, he's old. He's starting to show his age. He can't do what he did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever. He even said, I'm not the same guy I was 2 years ago, because he knows he's starting to feel his age. That's why he's retiring. But a younger fighter, I think, would have done more of a demolition job on Conor McGregor. He might have had moments, you know what I mean? But I reckon a younger fighter would have probably done a bit more of a demolition job on him. I can't say, definitely, they would have him out of there in 6 rounds, because he surprised me against Mayweather, so I don't want to say that. But I just felt, someone like an Errol Spence or someone like that, that kind of fighter, Terence Crawford type kind of fighter, I think he would seriously struggle, and that's just me being honest. And that's what I'm saying. He needs a trainer like a Virgil Hunter to teach him the inside game, the outside game, technique, how to adapt, when to adapt, all those sort of things. So that's just my opinion on Conor McGregor's career. Do I think he should carry on into a boxing career? I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure he'll get back to MMA. He said it himself as well. To be fair, whether he does or he doesn't, it's not going to bother me either way. To be honest with you, I don't think so. It doesn't change boxing or anything in any way in that sense. So I'm not really fussed whether he does or not. That's my opinion. But he could if he wanted to, but he'd have to change a lot of things and be a lot smarter, in my opinion. That's how I feel, definitely. And then you got to think about paydays as well. So in MMA, I think his last fight I heard, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you MMA nuts out there, I believe he made 10 million on his last fight. Now he makes 10 million a fight, or 10, 15 million a fight, or something like that. So he's the highest earning MMA fighter out there, and now he's just made, maybe, after they've audited everything and worked out all the pay-per-view buys and all that sort of stuff, you know, he may walk away with 100 million or less than 100 million. So he could retire now if he wanted to, but he's never going to get that kind of payday in boxing again, or even in MMA. We know this. So what kind of money would he get for his next fight? You know, if he went in there with Errol Spence, for example, Errol Spence might get $1 million for that fight, $2 million for his fight, whatever. He's with Al Haymon, so he'll get a generous amount, $2.5 million. How much are you going to pay Conor McGregor for that fight? You know, if Al Haymon turned around and said to Conor, and Showtime says to Conor McGregor, well, we'll give you, you know, $3 million, or we'll give you $2 million. Conor's probably going to turn around and say, no, it's not that. I can make 10 million in 10, 15 million in an MMA fight. So you got to think about the business end of it. From the money point, is it worth it for him? If he's doing it for the glory and the crossover success that he could have in boxing, he trying to achieve some crossover success in MMA and boxing, like pick up a title in boxing and then say, look, I'm done, look, I picked up a title, great, that kind of thing, then yeah, but I reckon there's an element he won't get as much money. Do you know what I mean? That's without a doubt. There's no doubt about that, in my opinion. So, you know, he has to look at it from that point of view. Now, if I'm honest with you, I don't think we'll see Conor McGregor in boxing again. I think he'll look at the cash value in terms of how much money he would make and think, actually, I can make way more money keep fighting in MMA than I can going back into boxing, because I'm not going to get that kind of payday again that he did on Saturday night. So I don't think we'll see Conor again in boxing. But it was enjoyable, it was entertaining, the build-up, etc., everything. The fight was intriguing and interesting, and I have to admit I was pleasantly surprised and glad it kind of played out the way it did, especially for the American fans, because over in the UK we only paid $19.95 for this. You know, we don't get our pants pulled down, and if they even tried, because I know Mayweather did try to make this fight £100 here in the UK, and Sky Sports said not happening. You know, we don't do that here in the UK. The UK fans will not pay for it. They won't stand for it. So shout out to Sky for that. But you know, I felt for you US fans that you're paying $100 for your fight, you know, for this pay-per-view if you shelled out for it. So in my mind, you know, so that I was glad it kind of worked. The fight kind of worked out the way it did and turned out the way it did, because obviously you guys across the pond got your money's worth as well, in my opinion. So I'm gonna close the video off there now. I think I've said everything I needed to say about this fight. Guys, as always, you know, if you like what you're seeing, if you're enjoying the videos, please hit that like button. It helps with the visibility and the growth of the channel, of course. Share the video, that helps with all of that as well. And of course, subscribe to the channel. If you choose to subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification icon so you can get notified the minute I upload a video, and keep yourself up to date with everything I'm doing here on Keep It Real Boxing. Shout out, thank you for watching, and until the next video, this is Cypherbox reminding you to keep it real.